Okay, hi everyone. Hi everyone on YouTube
I
and Twitch. We are live, but please give us like one more minute. Just one more minute while I'm trying to go live on my other accounts.
All right, I'm hosting on my channel as well now.
All right. I'm gonna press the go live and we are podcast talk podcasts. All right. Podcast. My RAM can't keep up with the number of processes I'm doing. Okay. We are live on Facebook? Awesome. I'm posting to our social media accounts. Um, yeah, posting, spamming all these groups. Come watch us. Yeah.
It's not yet on your channel.
Somehow your mic's on a different configuration right now, Dale.
Oh, what does it sound like?
Um,
Am I too loud?
I think I'm hearing air.
Oh, okay. How about now?
Um, yeah, it's really better now.
Okay.
Sounds good at my end.
Wait a minute. Okay. We are live, but give for everyone who's already logged in, please give me like a few more seconds and we should be ready to go. Oh no. My PC can't keep up. Okay. Uh-huh. Come on. Don't lag on me. Oops.
So this is in association with Chaotic Gaming Philippines, right?
Yeah, Chaotic Gaming Philippines Ministries International. It's just Chaotic Gaming. Yeah, we do have the PH tag, right? Chaotic Gaming PH, I guess. Why don't I know what I'm talking about?
It's all good.
Awesome. Where were my posts? And all right, I should be. Where's my Twitch? I thought I had this like 100% prepared, but somehow my PC just slows down.
We were more prepared in the test stream than the actual stream, huh?
Ah, yeah, definitely. All right. And we are ready.
Hi, everyone.
Hi everyone.
hello.
Okay. Mark Anthony, wag mong sabihin magba-Bible study tayo. Oh, you got bamboozled. How did you know? Mark Anthony says, we're gonna do a no, we're not gonna poke fun of religion here, but we are gonna talk about five. generations in video games. Hi everyone, this is Chaotic Gaming's second podcast. So I'm Rule from Chaotic Gaming. Joining us today is Commander Demilicos from Active Time Gaming. How are you, Demilicos?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. How's your week?
Pretty great. Been getting into aquascaping and,
Aquascaping. Can you tell us what aquascaping is about?
well, it's not gaming related, but it's basically like aquariums, but more on the ecology side. So plants, um,
Mhm.
substrate, and balance, basically.
Okay. You're gonna have
So,
to. All right. I think mix your acids as well. The acidity of the water, is that it? Is that
yeah, the
part of it?
pH level
Yeah, the
is
pH level.
important,
Yeah.
even in regular aquariums. Anyway,
So aquascaping for our spacefaring cap commander. And joining us from United States is my beloved cousin Questor, who also has a YouTube channel, and we are also live on his YouTube channel. So we are hijacking his channel right now. Don't say the N word, everyone, or every one of us will get banned. But how are you, Questor? How are you?
I'm doing great. This week last week, I decided to just focus on my YouTube channel, so I dropped everything and
Hmm.
gonna be full time as a gamer, just gaming. That's just gonna be my career. And then
Awesome.
we watched Endgame, my brother and I, at Chow. So we
Hmm.
watched Endgame. And Gary, my husband, he wants to watch Endgame too, so I'll just join him later today. So no spoilers.
Okay, yeah. For all our live channels right now, this is simultaneously streaming at Questor's YouTube channel, my Twitch channel, and my Nemo channel, Chaotic Gaming's Facebook channel, and Demilicos is also hosting us, our Twitch account. So for all those channels, please no spoilers of any kind. No spoilers of the Avengers. No spoilers of Game of Thrones. No spoilers of any kind. Maybe except the video games that we're gonna talk about in this. So why are we here? So there's this thing in Japan called the Heisei Era, and we're gonna say goodbye to it because it started in 1989 when their current emperor, Emperor Akihito, assumed the throne, and at the end of this month, he's gonna abdicate the throne, and his son will succeed him. So it's gonna be another era, but this era that we are in right now, in the Japanese time, all right, we have a lot of video game blessings that we had, and most of all of us, our experiences with gaming is this era. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the fourth generation of video games, starting from the SNES, the SNES. What does it even stand for? Super
Super Nintendo
Nintendo
Entertainment
Entertainment
System.
System. Yeah, and with the Sega all the way to PS4 right now and Xbox One, right? Yeah, and even the mobile games that we have right now in our smartphones. So we have that, and the Japanese had a ton of contributions on how they shaped the video game industry. So Mark Anthony here on the Facebook also says that well, there's a difference in the comics of Avengers, and the MCU. So anyway, I digress. This is gonna be a lengthy topic. So I think let's talk about how were we when it was 1989 and up. How is our gaming life by then? If I'm gonna start, um, I basically grew up watching Questor play. That's it. Uh, Final Fantasy 3 which is actually Final Fantasy 6 in Japan, but it's released as Final Fantasy in the US. So that's what we had in our SNES. That was all I grew up watching. Final Fantasy 3, Tactics Ogre, Breath of Fire of Questor's brother. Chrono Trigger, most especially that one. So I'm gonna hand the mic over to Questor to talk about his gaming life at that time.
So I started gaming really, really young. My father owned a computer um, store office, or what it's a computer business. So I was playing Donkey Kong in PC, and Load Runner. So I was already playing a lot of video games, and then the SNES came out, and Super Mario was released. So I wanted Super Mario, and I finally got an SNES, but we only had a few. My library was really small. We're not rich, so I can only afford a few games. And how I got into gaming is that I would go to different kiosks in the Philippines, and they would have like consoles, and they have it to rent it out. So it's like you pay like 5 pesos, and you can play for 15 minutes on an NES. Because that's the first console that I'm used to is NES, and then I played that a lot. And then as I got older, the SNES came out, and the Sega Genesis came out, and I didn't own a console still. That's how I would uh, play it until one day, I had enough allowance and enough, and started making some income, and then I was able to buy myself a SNES, and then you know, and then I migrated to the US, and then I had I can afford more, and then now it's like buying a PS2. Anyway, long story short, I now have a PS4 here in the US, and but I don't use that console so much anymore because now I'm into gacha games and
Gacha
uh,
games, mobile games, right?
mobile games. So I'm playing
Yeah.
on my. So that's just me purchasing games. I didn't talk any games in particular, but you can always ask me what kind of games I was playing. So.
All right, pretty cool. Mark Anthony in the comment section says that he started in Atari. Maybe he found I'm pretty sure he's not that old. So it's not. I'm pretty sure he's not that old. So, but his first experience is with the Atari. How about you, Demilikos? What was your story when it was 1989 and up?
So at exactly 1989, I was 2 years old. And
Okay.
back then, it was seeing my older sister, who is a Generation Xer, play the NES, the original Nintendo Entertainment System. Super Mario Brothers was really big back then. And it wouldn't be until 1994 that I was given a Christmas present, which was the Donkey Kong Country bundle for the Super Nintendo. And I distinctly remember hooking it up to the TV myself because my mom doesn't have any tech knowledge, basically. And I love that game. And I always thought it was a Japanese franchise, which it is. But apparently it's made by Rare, which are based in the UK. So my second game was Super Mario World. And that game was just amazing. Like, it was much, much better than Super Mario Brothers for me. So many features, and eventually I would get a PlayStation like late in the year 2000. I would get into Final Fantasy, and Japanese RPGs really changed my life. They were like visual novels in a way that I could just get lost in.
Oh yeah.
Um, and yeah, until this day, like, I'm really into Monster Hunter. uh, recently before the release of Monster Hunter World, and that's basically the summary.
All right. We're gonna tackle a lot of topics here. So maybe we'll let the gaming generations. Let's start with the chronology of the gaming generations. Let's start with the fourth generation, which was in 1987 to 2004 when Neo Geo was discontinued. So that was the end of the generation. But so yeah, 19. So the 19 the this generation was all about the SNES, uh, the Sega
Sega
Saturn,
Genesis.
Genesis. Yeah, I think it's Sega Genesis.
A fact I did not know when I was younger was that the Sega Genesis actually came before the Super Nintendo.
They're on a very tight race when I was reading up on this topic. So it was 16-bit gaming. This was part of the time where we define gaming with bits. Right now we don't do that. We go like 4K or RTX or something. But before it was 16-bit gaming. And there were cartridges. All right? There were bulky cartridges which were pretty cool. Very hard to pirate.
Fast load
Uh
times.
fast load times. Yeah. So there was this SNES and the Sega. There was also Neo Geo, but it's very expensive. It's the most expensive of them all, and not a lot of us had experience with that one, except on the arcades. So Nintendo was very dominant in Japan. Sega was very dominant in Europe, but on North America, it's a very very tight race. And I think I'm gonna have to hand over the mic to Questor here. It's his time. It's well,
Okay,
now it's
my
still
time.
his time, but well, for me that was my golden years of gaming, I guess, or maybe the PlayStation era, because it was like everything I watched them. I just watched them, and hopefully one day I'll be big enough to play my own video game, to play a video game of like, of my own. So can you tell us more about your experiences here?
In um,
SNES. Did you
and
own a Sega Saturn?
I've
A
never
Genesis?
owned Sega
Yeah,
Genesis.
yeah.
I've only owned an SNES.
And you had this UFO, like, what was it
Yes,
called?
and
Yeah, that
I had a UFO device where I could use those 3.5-inch discs. This is totally old technology.
floppy disks. Yeah, floppy
Yeah,
disks.
those floppy disks. Yes. To load and save games. Um, craziness. Yes, this was like 25 years ago or
All
20
right, it's that old.
years. That is old. That is old stuff. So what part of do you want me to talk about, SNES or NES? The SNES?
Let's just talk about the SNES. I think with NES, you were playing Konami Kids and Goonies.
Yeah, it's YY World. It's what they really call it, YY World. But
Uh,
anyway, SNES. Um, okay, so when I started playing the SNES, I think I remember I was in Manila. One day when I got appointed to them, I was still in focus time school before I got kicked out for playing too much video games.
wow.
um. Anyway, um, yeah, I remember it like oh my god, I had to pay more money to play these games, but I think the very first SNES game that I really liked was Zelda. I forgot
Yeah.
the title. It's the one where
A Link to the Past. You left your
yeah,
cartridge at my house, at our house.
okay, A Link to the Past. That's the one. That's the one that I played so much
Yeah.
and used all my stipends on. So um that's really engrossing. And what I really like about the SNES is the first um, console that has a save feature.
Mm.
Back then in the NES, you just plug in a code, and that will bring you to a specific stage in the game. So, you know. That's the only way. Before, it's like when you start playing, you have to play all the way because if somebody hits the reset button or the electric went out in the Philippines, which happens
A lot.
often, yes, then all your all your gaming just disappears. So you
Yeah.
have to start from the beginning. But with the SNES, with the save functions, like wow, you can have long sprawling games, and that's when I played Final Fantasy IV, the one with Rydia and Celes. What was it? Celes
Cecil.
or Cecil? Yes, Cecil. Yes, I also spent so much of my stipend playing that game, and yes, I love that you're able to save, and I think that's the one that like defined gaming for me. It's like this long sprawling thing, and so I would have my save file with me, and I always had it with me so that when I go went back to the video game store, that I could just like okay, I'm gonna play this, and then I just plug in my save file and stuff. So.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Um,
Pretty cool. It's just anyway, it's just people with no consoles. They that's how we did it before. Just
it also wasn't a 3D, but I remember you were playing Wild Arms. Did Wild Arms have 3D moments?
I don't recall. It's such a long time
Yeah,
ago.
that's
Well,
such a long time. Yeah. How about you, Demilicos? Where were you then, and what were you playing?
Well, just real quick, it's interesting that Questor brought up that games had save files back then, because there was one Super Nintendo game that I rented from a Blockbuster that is Jurassic Park, the original.
Uh
It's
huh.
like a top down shooter game with like Velociraptors and T Rexes and stuff that came out just after the movie had come out in 1993. And the funny thing about that game is it's a really long game and there's no save state. So every time you reset your Super Nintendo, you have to start from the beginning again.
Yeah.
It was brutally hard. But mentioning 3D, the Super Nintendo also had I believe it's called the Mode 7 chip, which simulates 3D. So if you play Final Fantasy games, you'll notice that on some of the Super Nintendo titles, whenever you get into your airship, the plane on the ground becomes like a 3D space, right?
Oh yeah.
If you can recall. Like think of the opening of Final Fantasy VI.
Setzer's ship.
Yeah, that was the Mode 7 chip. And
Oh.
the Jurassic Park game also had a feature where when you enter buildings, instead of being a 2D top-down game, it becomes this 3D Doom style kind of game, and the Super Nintendo was able to facilitate that, which amazed me back then. Like how, and that was basically a marketing gimmick for Nintendo to have an edge over the Sega Genesis.
Awesome. I didn't know that. I recall that Star Fox had a 3D feature as well. Like
Uh,
there's just like one or
oh yeah, that
two
one had
games.
polygonal 3D. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy someone in the comment section also had the UFO system with the floppy disks. And yeah, because that allowed for piracy, like on a grander scale, because you're just using floppy disks, which are very easier to pirate. So there's that. So what were you playing besides Jurassic? So that's the Jurassic Park, Jurassic
Uh,
World.
my third game after Donkey Kong Country, which used 3D renders to create a 3D like image. Then it was Super Mario World, and after that, I got F-Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Are any of you familiar with that game?
Is that a racing game or a shooter game?
Yeah, it was a
Racing.
futuristic racer.
Okay, I was
It
right on both
also
counts.
it also utilized that kind of 3D parallaxing effect, and I fell in love with that game. Um, and then I never actually got Chrono Trigger back then. I actually played it on the DS first. Um, but after Donkey Kong Country, well, after that was the Super Mario 64 or the Mario Nintendo 64 era, which came in 1995. So I got the Super Nintendo late, 1994. But another interesting thing was, of course, we didn't pirate games in USA back then. Um, and as you guys probably know, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System was the Super Famicom in Asia, right?
Uh-huh. Although
Um,
technically they're different devices.
Technically, and they
Yeah.
look different.
Yeah,
But
they
here's
did.
the funny thing: I don't ever hear people talking about this. In 1995, I wanted to play Donkey Kong Country 2, and they didn't have legit copies here in Philippines, so I had to get a pirated version. And the pirated version was in a Famicom cartridge style. But I ended up buying it, and I was disappointed to see that the format was very different. But the funny thing was, I put it in anyway, and it fit.
Oh wow.
And I was able to play a Famicom cartridge on my Super Nintendo. So
Oh, that's. I haven't actually seen a Super Famicom. Because what Questor had was the Super Nintendo, the SNES, with that
Aren't they the
UFO.
same? Aren't they the same? The Super Famicom, Super SNES. They're the same.
No,
they
they
are
are.
underneath the hood. They are the same, but Nintendo wanted to market the Super Nintendo to an American audience, so they wanted it
Uh,
to be edgier. They don't want these nice, clean curves and colorful buttons. They wanted it to be gray and purple and to be
Yeah,
box shaped
yeah.
because they thought that Americans would be confused at a smooth device because it doesn't look like a VHS player or a VCR. I think that was the reasoning.
I,
alright.
yeah. That brings me back. I can remember rewinding the VHS tapes with like a pentel pen, and
Yeah.
yeah,
So
turn.
if you talk to most Asians or Europeans, the Super Nintendo that we grew up with, whenever they look at it, their usual comment is, "That is ugly," which is funny to me because I really love the Super Nintendo style,
Ah,
like
because you're
like the
American.
North American edition. It's just what I grew up with. Is what, and you
Yeah,
guys are used to it too.
yeah, we are.
So
We're basically a colony of the U.S. Just kidding. I mean,
I
yeah,
visited Japan in 1997, and my cousin in Japan had a Famicom, and that was the first time I had ever seen one.
the smoother, yeah, more futuristic design.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So sorry.
on that era, I was really more of an observer. I watched Questor, his brother, my sisters, because the age gap between us was quite big. So I would watch them play. So among the first three games that I've seen are Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 3, which is actually Final Fantasy 6. I have to make this clarification weird. And what was the other one? A Link to the Past, right? So those were the games. And then Questor's brother, made me participate. So he was playing Breath of Fire 2. And okay, just press this A button. Just press because that's the attack, right? Okay, just press it,
Yeah.
press it, press it, press it. So that was the first time I actually felt like, oh, I'm a pretty smart person. Maybe given a few days, I'll figure out how to actually play the game. And then sometimes, Questor would bring in weirder titles like he played the original Tactics Ogre, which was Japanese. All right, I have no idea what. So they were also learning Japanese as well. I think they had this book. We were learning Japanese and karate and yeah, that one SNES. And then the view was weird because the game is isometric, right? It's like a chess. And I had no idea how to interpret things. I didn't see the shapes. Like i- ima- imagine like you're seeing a Picasso painting, you have no idea what that is. And then later on it clicked that oh, it's like chess. Oh, those are the units. Oh, those. So that was among my first experiences there. It was my magical moment. So the first time I've actually played SNES was because it was like the elite console because most of the consoles available to us are the NES, Battle City, Super Mario.
Yeah,
Twin
I had
D.
a Super Nintendo, but all my neighbors had a Sega Genesis,
Oh.
and
Oh.
it was interesting. That was my only way to experience Sega
Yeah.
Genesis games back then, because I would go over to their house. But I always preferred Nintendo over Sega, personally.
Yeah. And
Um, yeah, go on.
no, no,
Sorry.
no. I was about to say like the RPGs done here, like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 6, like they take a long time to finish. And it was really awesome
Yeah,
because of that save
I
feature.
I think that was great because if I was a consumer spending money and games, what did they cost? Like $30 back then, or $40? That was a lot of money, and I wouldn't want to buy a game that I play for a day. I would
Yeah.
want an experience that lasts like 30 to 50 hours, right?
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. And yeah, those RPGs at that time, they really packed in a lot of content as much as they can. It was among Square's golden era. I think the golden era is on the next generation, which we're gonna talk about. But
And if you
yeah,
realize how little amount of memory the cartridges of the Super Nintendo had, it was amazing they were able to fit
yeah,
all of that data.
yeah, like just a couple of MBs.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
had to get creative.
very creative. Also, arcade games were booming in this era, starting with Street Fighter 2. So Street Fighter 2 was introduced, and the arcade scene was bustling with life. So these were games like Mortal Kombat and the King of Fighters emerged because the last time the arcade was this popular was with Pac-Man, which was maybe 1980, 1980, I think, flat.
Yeah, the Street Fighter 2 was the one that brought back the arcade. It was well, in my case, I don't know what I didn't have an experience of like the what the arcades were before, but when I was in the arcades and like there was Street Fighter 2, it's like wow, it's just everyone's like trying to play and compete, and I'll be there back watching. But it's not just Street Fighter 2. There were games like the X-Men,
Uh huh.
um, and the Simpsons, and there were those like co-op games. The primitive
Children
type
of Atom.
of there's four of you
Yeah,
playing
yeah, yeah.
on.
I remember that one.
Yeah, so those ones, they're the what do you call that? They're the ones that made the arcades popular, the Street Fighter games and the co-op games.
And I think you were a big King of Fighters player back then. Um,
Yes, but how it turned out, it was Street Fighter that came out first, and there's a bunch of non unpopular games that came out that were mimicking Street Fighter, and then there's a Real Bout Fatal Fury,
mhm.
which was not as popular as Street Fighter, but it was like gaining traction. And there was also World Heroes, and then King of Fighters was actually later. It was later than like all those games.
Mhm.
King of Fighters was actually a revolution because now you have 3 on 3, and you had more characters to choose from.
Yeah.
Or it was just 1-on-1, you know, gaming. So when King of Fighters came out, you had 3 characters to choose from, and it wasn't like who wins. What do you call that? Um, you win 2 rounds out of 3. It was more like how many, if you knock all the players, you win.
Yeah. Right.
So that's how things turned out with King of Fighters. But yeah, it started out Street Fighter, and then the rest followed. And Samurai Showdown also like showed up
Oh
before
yeah.
King of Fighters. So yeah.
Over in America, I was a big Mortal Kombat fan. I think that one came out in
Whoopee.
1992, but it wasn't from a Japanese developer. But it was interesting that there was a Super Nintendo version and there was a Sega Genesis version, and only the Genesis version had blood.
Oh, interesting.
So I think it was because Nintendo wanted to be a family-friendly system.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
cultivating that.
controversial. Mortal Kombat. Oh my God! It's like how I remember how like the news I would hear from it is like they would talk about like banning it because it was so gory and
Yeah.
Yeah,
violent.
little kids like me, we turned into killers growing up because of that game, right?
Yeah. Psychopaths. Psychopaths. Yeah.
That's that
Oh,
stuff.
there's also one game that features 3D in this generation. That's Virtua Fighter. Virtua
Oh,
Fighter.
really?
Oh, it's showing up on the screen. Wow, interesting. So yeah, it's 3D. That's yeah. So I think only
What year did that come out?
about the same. It came out on Sega Genesis, right? So it's about that. Cause like if you push SNES to its limits, you could get 3D if you push it with the if you were really gonna be smart about it. But I think it's about time we talk about the 3D generation, the 3D era. We call this the
Well, we did miss one big part of the 90s,
yeah, yeah.
early 90s, I think. Did any of you have a Game Boy?
Shit. Uh
Because that came out in April 1989, which is right when the Heisei era started. So
yeah.
let's talk about that.
I didn't have any experience with those things.
I
No.
so as a friend of my sister came over at the house because there was a party. They had a witch themed party because they were massive Spice Girls fans. Like massive Spice Girls fans. Quester knows who Incar's friends are. And one of them brought a Game Boy. I stole it, brought it to school for one day. Had no idea how to make it work, and battery died. And then returned it the following day. I was really scolded. Yeah, but I actually did steal a Game Boy.
Yeah, lots of memories of playing the game at night in the
Yeah.
car and
I stole
trying to turn my Game Boy towards car headlights so I can see what the heck is going on.
Growing up, I stole a lot of things for video games. Stole a lot of money.
Well,
I was a
that's
bad.
nice to know.
I was really bad.
I'll keep that
Yeah.
in mind when you're around my video games.
Yeah, now I'm feeling really guilty. Uh,
No, he's not that way anymore.
yeah. I actually buy games now, not pirating stuff anymore. Oh, okay. I
uh,
think this era like really molded me. It's the PlayStation era. Let's talk about the fifth generation. It's called the 32-bit era, or the 64-bit era, or the 3D era. So we have 3Ds now.
Hmm.
And it was hands down PlayStation was leading, and PlayStation adopted the CD, the compact disc technology. N64 still, or Sega Saturn was it? One of those stuff still adopted cartridges.
N64 adapted cartridges,
Oh
which
yeah.
is a big reason why Squaresoft abandoned Nintendo.
Oh yeah, and they went exclusive with PlayStation and Square Enix right now. Tend to stick to one console.
Hmm.
It was also the era of Game Boy Color. I'm gonna shut up now. I wanna let you guys talk about your experiences first with your PlayStations or N64s or Game Boy Colors or Tamagotchis.
I think the PlayStation One was the last console we had before I left for the US. So my fondest memory of it was Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Oh, I could still memorize the lines. Die, monster.
Die
You don't
monster.
belong in this
So
world.
yeah,
Yeah.
my brother got hooked into Final Fantasy, and that's when I stopped playing Final Fantasy. Whole Final Fantasy 7, I know everybody's be like, that's fantasy game. It didn't click with me, and my brother would just play it and I would watch it. But other games were like, um, So like I said, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and then Silent Hill.
You did play a ton of Final Fantasy Tactics though, because it was like
Yeah,
Tactics Ogre.
yes, yes. Tactics Ogres was on the SNES, but Final Fantasy Tactics was on the PS1,
Hmm.
I believe.
Yep.
And that, like I said, Silent Hill and um, Resident Evil,
All right.
those
One, two,
are.
three.
And on in the arcades, the popular games, started having X-Men, not Children of the Atom, but the next iterative of it, X-Men versus Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Yes. And then Samurai Showdown 4 was, I remember, was in there too. So they already went up to part 4. Yeah, so those were the games that I remember before leaving, because then once I left for the US, gaming was on hiatus for me.
Mm.
But yeah, so that's my experience with the PS1.
I think you would resume playing Diablo.
Diablo,
But that was
on the PC.
later on.
Later on, when I moved to the US, I was an underclass immigrant. So, we didn't have much of anything, just have to start all over again. And so I had to find my footing in the US before I can start with gaming. Hi, lovely.
Hi, lovely.
Silent Hill is horror. Yeah, it is. It is.
Silent Hill. Yeah, Silent Hill. Probably like games that had this huge impact on me. I don't play them anymore because how do I say this? I'm more sunshine and rainbow now.
Me.
But before, when I was dark and edgy, I would play Silent Hill.
Yeah, the radio was really creepy. A fan here, someone in the comment section used to play Mazinger Z on the arcade. Have you played with that?
No, I don't remember Mazinger Z.
Yeah,
I
me too.
remember the anime
Yeah, the anime,
Mazinger
but
Z.
not the game.
Someone's boobs just shooting rockets, right?
It's
Like
Never heard
I
of
don't
it.
that.
know, but mecha was a big thing in these times.
Yeah, yeah. I just remember like the chest, the boobs were just like flying out like a rocket. I was like, seriously?
How about you, Demilicos? What were your experiences here in the PlayStation era?
So during the PlayStation era, I believe it came out in 1994 or 1995, but would not get my own PlayStation until the year 2000, around the time the PS2 came out. So my mom hated video games, so the only chances I had like play my Game Boy at the time, and I really wanted Nintendo 64 at the time, but never got it. So I would just go to my friends and watch them playing Resident Evil 2 on the PlayStation or Dino Crisis,
Oh yeah.
and I'd be kind of envious. For the Nintendo 64, it was Zelda Ocarina of Time me away. And I would also go to Blockbusters and play the demo for the Mario 64, which defined 3D movement for platformers until this day. That game is the basis for the influence of that genre. Um, but for Game Boy, like in the meantime, from 1995 until the year 2000, one of the biggest franchises of all time launched in 1996 in Japan and 1998 in North America, which is Pokemon. And to be in the USA at that time, to be at the age of 12 years old, sixth grade, everyone was into Pokemon. I think I got into it a little early before the card game, and anime became super big. Um, like initially around 1998, like all I knew about Pokemon was this Pikachu character, which of course I was an edgy 12-year-old, so I was like, what the heck? Why are people into that? I would go on the Newgrounds website and I would like play this Pikachu killer game where you like shoot up Pikachu and his guts would explode across the screen. Like I wasn't into that shit. Like it's like it's for kids, right? So, um, but then I saw this commercial where this kid is playing his Game Boy and there's like this cable that connects to the next apartment and you see a bunch of animated Pokemon walking across it and into another person's Game Boy. Basically, it's the trade feature of the game, and that blew my mind that you had this sense of interactivity, collecting, and you could trade someone to someone else and they could battle you. Like I have never seen something like that like as a 12-year-old up until that point, and it sold me. Like I did chores for 4 weeks and I ended up getting Pokemon Red.
Wow.
And to this day, I've played every mainline Pokemon game. I can memorize 95% of their names. There's over 800 now. So that game really shaped me. But moving on to the PlayStation. The PlayStation for me was an RPG machine. Like, I think the very first Final Fantasy, like I got into the series after you guys, was Final Fantasy 9.
Mm.
And that came out in the year 2000, same year I got the PlayStation. And I didn't know if I got the right game because everyone always talked about Cloud and Squall.
No, you got the
And
right thing.
here I was with Zidane or Zidane
Yeah.
or whatever. And I wasn't sure of the art style yet, but then I played it. And I fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with the steampunk setting. I ended up beating it, and to this day, it's still my favorite Final Fantasy game. And of course, I would revisit every single Final Fantasy game afterwards and try to play it with a fresh mind. So I don't love Final Fantasy VII as much as all my friends do, but I still love it. But I can understand why it's their favorite. I think for most people, usually their first one or two Final Fantasies are usually their favorite, right?
Yeah.
But my favorite RPG on the PlayStation was Suikoden 2.
Oh.
Like, have either of you played it?
That's my regret. I haven't played a Suikoden. And friends recommend
Yeah.
that if I'm gonna get my hands into a Suikoden, I play 2. They say it's the best.
I I recommend 2 as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a better version of 1, although it's like a continuing story. But 2 was like for me and most people the golden age of Suikoden, and it's a beautiful game. But I don't know if it's as appealing when you're an adult and you don't have time. It's really a game when you're like growing up and you have all this free time.
Mm.
You can just play and get immersed in. Like I think
That's
before I
great.
beat the game, I had 80 hours in. So
Wow.
Well, for me, it's different now. Now it's for me, I'm in my 40s. Well, I'm still 40, and I dropped school because I just want to focus on gaming, and pretty much my time is dedicated to gaming. I that's that all the other things that I've come across in my life, I just felt like it was just distracting me from what I really want to do, which is really gaming. And I just want to say that it doesn't really matter what age you are. Now I can focus now on gaming and mobile gaming. So I do agree that when you were a kid, you had all the time in the world, like versus when you're an adult and you have to make money, and
Yeah.
then you only have, like a few amount to play. So that was my experience, not so long ago, but mine's different. Now I play more, so I play more, review more, and that's all I
that's
want.
great that you can do that.
Yeah.
Not many people are able to be able to do that, and it's a funny because gaming might have been one of my motivating factors, not the sole one, for getting a job as a freelance. Extra time, and we live in a time where you can make money off of streaming about video games and all that. Like my actual job has nothing to do with video games, but we live in a very interesting time.
Yeah.
Yes, Yes, I'm really happy with the developments going on. That you can make something a career that involves gaming, and that's what I'm focusing now is like make a career out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the great thing is I do have the support of my family, so I don't have to worry about like where food's gonna come from, or if bills are gonna be paid, because they're all taken care of. So all I need to do is focus on gaming, and I did apply for some temp jobs. Um, I just have extra money coming in because now I'm like hooked on these gotcha games, and yes, I'm spending. So
You call that a whale, right, in the ecosystem?
Yes.
A
yes,
whale is
I'm a
someone who
dolphin.
spends. Yeah.
I don't know. Some people might think I'm a whale because of how much money I spend. Depending on the right now, I'm being referred to as a dolphin, and I'm fine with that.
What's a
Yeah.
dolphin?
It,
I
it
don't play gacha games at all, so I don't know these terms.
a dolphin is someone who um how do I say this? It's like if a whale is like upper class, a dolphin would be middle class.
Oh.
Like you spend money time to time, especially when there are like discounts and stuff.
So
Yeah.
I'm learning about aquascaping and dolphins in this podcast. Very good aquatic education right here.
But
I
anyway, let's
think being a
get back.
dolphin's much smarter too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. When it comes to Warframe, right? We also wait for sales. I
Yeah.
also wait for
75%
bundles.
discounts.
I'm
I'm a
spending
dolphin on
money.
Warframe.
I'm spending money on Hearthstone. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's yep. I
So
do
that
spend
that that
money.
should be like when you're dolphin, and then of course, anyway, I can go on and on about now, but I think we need to get back to
Yeah,
like where
we're
we are.
definitely gonna talk about monetization and microtransactions later on.
True.
So we're definitely gonna come back to that. Um, all right. PlayStation. Oh, PlayStation era. My turn. My turn. My turn. This is
Oh.
the era that basically it just solidified me because on the previous generation, right, I was more on watching Questor, his brother, everyone else play. But right now, I have allowance. I could save up some cash, and I was a bit late for Final Fantasy VII. So Final Fantasy VIII was teased. All the hype was up for me and my friends. I also so in the on the earlier S on the SNES era, I managed to gather a few friends. So we have like a fans club, and we'd compile. We have a notebook. We'd compile all our gaming knowledge in there, all the items in Castlevania, even in the early, even Ninja Turtles NES games. We'd compile them. We'd compile a library of what Guardian Force is from Final Fantasy VIII, what a spell is from Final Fantasy VI. So there's we went nerd club. It's like Fight Club, but for fucking nerds. So yeah. Um. So when PlayStation era came, I could save money. Finally, I bought my first memory card. So on the SNES era, the save files are on the cartridge itself, but on this time now, it's on a memory card.
Mhm.
And I bought my first pirated 4 CDs worth of Final Fantasy 8, and I play I play it a lot. Finally managed to save up for Castlevania as well because it's the most cost-effective purchase. It's just one CD with tons of fun. All the secrets with trade-in secrets. We look to game facts for tips on how to build the perfect character for Final Fantasy Tactics, the deep dungeon, everything. I really nerded out a ton and on this time. And I couldn't afford a PS2 later on. I couldn't afford a PS3 later on. I couldn't afford all those gaming. But PS1 I could afford. So I've played all the games, like especially one of our commenter here, Valkyrie Profile. Yeah, That Valkyrie profile is one of the secrets why I excelled in English so much in school. Because the English in Valkyrie profile is deep. Although the English in Final Fantasy 6 and Chrono Trigger and 7 they're deep enough.
Well, you can thank
But
Japan for teaching you English then.
yeah, I really excelled at school because of in English. I excelled in English, but not in making projects because I was a lazy ass piece of whatever. So there's that. There were also 32 block memory cards. There were a lot of. I remember Red Alert, not a Japanese game, but they had this multiplayer. So when Game Boy blew your mind, it also blew my mind that there's multiplayer.
Oh yeah, I played that as well.
Resident Evil. Well, what is it? Red Alert also blew my mind because it was not split screen multiplayer. It was separate uh TVs, separate
Yeah.
PlayStation multiplayer. So and then Tekken 2, I really nerded. So maybe I'll just stop right here and just say that the nerdiest part of my life is PlayStation era.
How
I've
much
played
were
a
PlayStation CDs in
lot.
Philippines back then that were pirated? Like 35 pesos,
50 pesos.
50 pesos.
Yeah, yeah.
So cheap.
So cheap, but it was expensive for me. But yeah, I remember
Yeah.
it was 2000, 3000 the CD before. The
It's
original
like
one.
whereas
You'll
if you were
know,
in
yeah.
USA, it would have been like $50.
You'll know the original one because they're black. Or
Yeah,
maybe that was
yeah.
the PlayStation 2. I
No, it
can
was
choosing
PlayStation
one.
1. They were black.
Black, yeah.
I still have my Final Fantasy 9 4 disc black CDs like
Oh wow.
next to me.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 9 was great as well. Um
On World.
Oh yeah, and Digimon World that was also pirated. And I really tried looking for guides, but my Digimons turned to the poop Digimon or the slug Digimon that happens when you neglect your Digimon a lot. So yeah, that was very memorable. A lot of memorable moments. Like I can't enumerate them because I've played a ton. Like
And
a
World
ton.
like changed my life.
Wow.
Um, because that sounds weird, but it's I became a Digimon fan because of that game, not from the anime or anything. But I started watching the anime, and I started a video game website because of it on the year
Oh
2000. And I met other like-minded fan page people. This was like the GeoCities and
yeah, Angel Fire.
era, and we started a web ring, and it became a community. So it was my introduction to like a social network before Friendster and MySpace. So,
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah, you're ahead of
let's
your
move
time.
on.
Oh, I was also dabbling in creating websites at that time. Uploading to FTPs, with a dial-up modem.
Yeah, we
So
were the
that
cool
was the
kids, right?
time. Yeah, we were poor kids. It's a lot. Oh, I'm still a regular Tekken player. Starting from this era until now, I still play Tekken a lot. So that's one of the contributions. Oh, I feel like I could make my separate podcast for this era alone. I really need to move us
Yeah,
forward.
there's so much in it.
Yeah. I could say a lot more of this era than I could say of my gaming experiences in this era. It's that big. So let's go to something I can't afford. Sixth generation.
The
It was
PS.
the PS2, the Sony Dreamcast, Nintendo GameCube, and it's the first time Microsoft also made their own with the Xbox.
True, true.
It was the year of emulation for me with the Game Boy
So
Advance SP.
when it comes to the PS2, my fondest memory of it was Silent Hill 2, which to me is the
Scary.
hands down the best Silent Hill game ever made.
It's better
It,
than Silent Hill 1? Really?
oh hell yes, much
Wow.
much better than Silent Hill 1. Um, and I'm not talking about the graphics. The story was just I was like, oh my god, people are crazy. But
Yeah.
anyway, I remember that very well, and that's when I got into survival horror. I think survival horror that got really huge. era. Now PS1, you had some Resident Evil games, but like PS2, wow, crazy scary stuff. That's when I played Fatal Frame.
Oh, Fatal Frame. Oh,
Fatal Frame. Well, the Resident Evil was not even scary anymore. After playing Silent Hill, I was like, wow, Resident Evil
yeah.
was like not scary at all. So
I think the Resident Evil horror ended with 3, where 3 already had like quick time events, so it's leaning towards action more. But after that, I don't think there was any horror Resident Evil games at all after that.
no, no, I don't think Resident Evil started being scary again until like this current Resident Evil game. When you talk about scary games, I think about Silent Hill. I think about Fail Frame. I don't think about Resident Evil because Resident Evil was just like the characters were too powerful in Resident
Yeah.
Evil. They were trained military people with like big guns stuff, and the factor of like being a helpless person. Um, that you feel in Silent Hill. You feel helpless in Silent Hill. In Fail Frame, you feel helpless. But in Resident Evil, you don't feel helpless at all. It's just, you have a big gun. You can be. Anyway, that's my experience of the PS2. That's pretty much what shaped me for PS2 was the survival horror games.
Oh, so that's okay. Got it. How about you, Demilicos? What's PS2 era for you?
PS2 era was like defined my need to research games, like because I didn't have the PS2 when it came out. But I was always keeping up on news. I really, really wanted to play Final Fantasy X because the graphics were at the time amazing and mind blowing, right? Um, some of my friends had GameCubes, so I really wanted to play Animal Crossing, a game I had researched about back when it was called Animal Forest in Japan, which I wouldn't be able to play until it came out on the DS. Its sequel, Wild World. I did end up getting a PS2 many years later and playing games from the past, and I actually ended up being disappointed by Final Fantasy X because of the hallways and
Linear, yeah,
stuff.
super linear.
And there was a charm in the PlayStation 1 era, pre-rendered backgrounds that were very detailed compared to PlayStation 2 era graphics that were moving because they're actually 3D, but they were not as detailed as something like Final Fantasy 7, or not 7, but 9.
Yeah,
Final Fantasy 7 looked horrible. um,
Popeye. Yeah, Popeye
I know a
graphics.
lot of my friends were into who had Game Melee, and that game was so that until this day people are having tournaments on it, and not the newer version
Oh wow.
in comparison. But yeah, it's pretty much
Yeah, PS2
it.
era also ushered in the online gaming. So that also blew my mind all the more. Wow, you could play on the internet.
Final Fantasy 11 and
Yeah.
number of other stuff. At that time, I was really getting into PC gaming, but that's another topic.
Oh yeah, another topic. Yeah, that's the Morrowind era, KOTOR
Yeah,
era.
I was playing Morrowind in 2002.
Yeah.
That my first open world game.
Yeah, that was
So
my jam as well. I'd skip classes for that game.
of course, Japan didn't really have many PC games at the time,
So
so I was
yeah, so when we're talking about like the PlayStation 1 era, I think that was Square's like uh golden era, right? They were the top of everything, of story,
true.
of graphics. And then on PlayStation 2 era, they kind of experimented a lot more with Final Fantasy 11, the online
Mhm.
MMO,
They weren't doing very well. They were having a
and
big transition.
yeah,
Like some of the old directors were leaving, and you can notice it when you play Final Fantasy X. Like
yeah,
some of the music was done by Nobuo Uematsu, but there was also a new composer, and the overall feel of the game just felt a little different. But that wouldn't be as apparent until the sequel came out, Final Fantasy
Uh,
X too,
yeah, with Yuna, right?
with the
And
songstress and the karaoke.
and well, not gaming related, but they made a movie as well, Spirits Within, that weren't wasn't received well by the general
Yeah,
public.
I watched
So
that in the Philippines with my best friend at the time, Angelo, in Philippines, who is a gaming nerd,
I watched
and
that
we
on
just
the yeah.
walked out and we didn't know what to think of it.
I walked out. I watched it on the theaters, and of course, I appreciated it. I because I was just a fanboy, a huge Square Enix fanboy, and maybe if I watch it again, maybe I'll appreciate it all the more. Because I may not be able to understand the nuances of the movie before because I was more stupid back then. But
It was more
yeah.
from the like what makes this Final Fantasy like from the viewpoint of there's no chocobos, there's no Mughals,
Oh
you
yeah.
know.
There's just the Gaia and Terra.
It's like a CGI sci-fi movie that could have been made by anybody
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
at the time.
It did. It did. And for the longest time, SquareSoft was ahead of everything for everything, and every Square title that because the thing is with Square, every title they release, it's a different world. It's a different. It's they're master world builders. Let's think of other
True.
competitors right now. The best developer right now, I think, is CD Projekt Red, perhaps. But
For
they only
RPGs.
have two worlds. Witcher, which is
True,
not
true.
even originally theirs because it's based on the book, and their upcoming Cyberpunk. Let's think of Blizzard. Blizzard is among the best. They're just declining right now. They have a lot of controversies right now, but they're among the best world builders. But they only have Warcraft and Starcraft and Overwatch, and that's just it. But when it
And
comes
Diablo.
to and Diablo, of course. But when it comes to Square, every single thing is a new world with great care built into it. But
Yeah.
it's on this time. It's on this sixth generation where they're
Like speaking of
declining.
PS2, I did get Final Fantasy 12 on its release date.
Hmm.
And although it also felt different from any other Final Fantasy games, I appreciated the world building and the bump up in graphics from Final Fantasy X, which was from the same, graphical engine, but they did a much
Uh-huh.
and I enjoyed it in its own way. It still didn't feel like a Final Fantasy game though to me.
But it had to have like an international release version before things got like patched up or something.
A superior version that came out initially
Yeah.
only in Japan, I believe.
But I have yeah.
But now it's out.
But
So
my best moment with even though I couldn't afford this and I could only play when Questor's brother came comes in with his PlayStation 2. But I'm so thankful for this generation just for Kingdom Hearts. I've played
oh,
Kingdom Hearts a ton. It
yes.
it's a really magical moment for me. So I couldn't complain about this era as well because of Kingdom Hearts, single-handedly because of Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts was beautiful.
Really beautiful.
It's one of those crossovers like back then that possible.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm not surprised anymore because they made Super Mario RPG, which I played on an emulator before playing this game, and that was so beautiful as well. So when Kingdom Hearts came out, of course, it was just a magical experience. It's not a video game; it's an experience for me. Uh, but I was already because this is the Square I love. This is the Square I love that loves to collaborate with other they collaborated with this. So they collaborated with Disney on this one. They collaborated with Nintendo on the Super Mario RPG. They collaborated with Bandai, with Namco on Guys. So
Don't
I
quote me on this, but I think Kingdom Hearts kind of saved the company after like lots of failures. It's like they were desperate and they did this collab with Disney and it really paid off.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. But Valkyrie Profile on PlayStation 1 era, that was a collaboration with Enix already. Or
Hmm.
maybe they didn't merge yet. But maybe that was one of the reasons why they they merged with Enix because they already had working titles. Okay, I think I digressed a lot. This was also the time of Phantasy Star Online. I couldn't say much about it. But yeah, that was
I
nice.
dabbled with it, but I didn't get too much into it.
So a lot of other, so a lot of, so Square and Enix merged on this time because of Bunkers, you know.
Yeah.
Namco and Bandai also merged on this one. I think Sega merged with some other obscure figure as well that I don't know.
Oh yeah, like what predated this generation, or it came out in a weird time was the Sega Dreamcast, and it. I had a neighbor who had it, so that was my only experience with it, and it was pretty fun.
Hmm.
But that system is basically one of the big reasons why Sega no longer makes hardware. So
Oh,
it didn't do too well.
yeah.
I think they launched it at the wrong time.
Yeah, but they already were using CDs as well, right?
Yeah, they were for
Oh,
the
this
Dreamcast.
generation was using DVDs. Sorry, DVD.
And even Nintendo for the very first time with the GameCube switched to a CD format. They were little CDs, but CDs nonetheless.
Mark Anthony on the comment section mentioned Valkyrie Profile 2. I still think Valkyrie Profile 1 is the superior Valkyrie Profile game. And there's the DS version, or um, which is really awesome as well. Uh, Covenant of the Plume. But yeah, there's just that. All right, Shadow of Colossus was released on this generation, which was really uh,
Oh yeah,
y-
the follow up to Ico, was it?
yeah, yeah, when where you deal with massively big opponents.
And it's just impressive they were able to do that on a PlayStation 2 hardware.
Yeah.
Because if you upscale that game to today's like standards, it still looks beautiful.
Yeah, I think there's an HD version out. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Shenmue was also in this era. Soul Calibur was also in this era. So I,
Shenmue,
Shen,
I didn't actually play it at the time, but my best friend in the USA talked about it. It's one of our very first conversations, and just the idea. It's what introduced me to the idea of an open world, which is something I always wanted when I played Mario 64 for the first
mhm.
time. Like the first thing I did in Mario 64 was try to go beyond the wall, like of the castle, and you couldn't. Right? It was small levels,
Uh-huh.
and I always loved that idea. I didn't know about Elder Scrolls 2, Daggerfall, or any of that.
Yeah,
But Shenmue,
that was your first foray into
it was
the.
like a lived in world, kind of kind of open cityscape.
Okay. Moving on, I guess. This is something I won't be able to talk about a lot too because I couldn't afford this generation, but it's the generation of the PlayStation 3. It's the seventh generation. So the console wars with this one is PS3 and Xbox 360. But Nintendo went a separate direction with the Nintendo Wii. So it's
Yeah,
a
true. Before we get to that, can we talk about just real quick with Nessa,
yeah.
the
Oh,
early
sure, sure, sure.
2000s arcade scene?
So Nia Sandra is gonna join us right now. She's Demelico's girlfriend. Hi, Nia Sandra.
Hello.
I'm gonna show her face here. Are you Vanessa? Are you there?
Yep, I am here.
Wow,
Sorry
my
about that.
my
Hi.
my editing is on point. I clicked on your face, it showed your face, and you spoke up.
Hi,
I'm a genius.
Lovely. Oh my
Oh,
god, I
Lovely's
can see
here as
Lovely.
well.
Hi.
Yeah, she's here as well. Anyway, yeah. So, what can you say about this time in gaming? What were your experiences?
2000s gaming. I actually started my 2000s gaming around 2002 or 2003. Around the time I was still in high school. And for me to actually go to an arcade, that would be Quantum
Oh,
in SM Malls.
Quantum, yeah.
Quantum, right? Yeah, you buy tokens for like 5
5 pesos.
pesos
Yes.
or 6 pesos, yeah. And then oh gosh, I used to have an allowance of like 40 pesos per day, and part of that allowance should be for my gaming funds. So yeah, that's yeah. Anyway, Quantum used to be my place for studying. Whenever I have group projects, it means I am in Quantum. And whenever It's actually where I met my ex. Oh my god.
How does that work?
But
You
let's skip to
studying?
that.
How are you
I don't
studying
mind.
on an arcade?
Well, you just tell your parents that, oh, mom, dad, I am going to this group project. We are going to do a group study. And you go to quantum.
Okay. What were you playing back
Yes.
then?
Um, it's a lot. Like I already 4 years, but within the span of 2003, 2004, I was still in high school. I was doing the dancing game. I think it's
Oh, Dance
para
Revolution?
or Dance Revolution, either or, which was fun because you see different people wearing different school uniforms, and it's like an internal competition. It's like a gaming intramurals in an arcade, and it's so awesome because you pass by people from St. Paul, which is an all girls school.
Yeah.
Then you look at them like, oh, these Paulinians, and then they look at us and they're like, oh, these Lazians. So yeah.
And you have those skirts with you? You're
Or
wearing
what,
skirt
sorry?
skirt
Yeah.
palda, nakapalda, right?
Yes, yes, yes. For girls, like it's one of the tips, eh? Because when you're playing Dance Revo, you have to be really super fast, and then sometimes your skirt gets in the way. So the trick is to wear basketball
Short.
shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So aside from that, around 2004 to 2008 onwards, college. So I'm farther away from home, so I'm not easily caught. The areas for Tambayan would be still G Box in Robinson's Galleria. Are you familiar with that
No, I
place?
was still in Bacolod by that time.
G Box. So the rival companies for lower middle class to mid middle class people to students who are like having an allowance of 150 pesos per day lang. The places to be would be Quantum and G Box. And then if you're on the upscale end, you can go to Time Zone and Power
That's
Station.
that's really expensive, those two.
I know because the minimum swipe then before in Time Zone is around 100 pesos to reload. Oh my gosh. Like if your allowance is only 150, you would have to starve to death. And around that time, only Time Zone in Glorieta would have the most recent model of Drum Mania. And I think Guitar Freaks is the one wherein you
Yeah.
kind of jam and combine. So early 2000s was really great because it's also the start of anime and gaming forums here in the Philippines, which brings me to my initial question to Dale. Sorry. And actually, it's directed to Mr. Questor over here. Are you
Okay.
familiar with the Questor
Yes.
magazine?
Oh, sorry. I
Oh
answered for him.
no,
Sorry, I answered for him.
no, no. I'm not. I'm not familiar with Quester magazine. I chose my name because I loved back then doing quests and RPG, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll be a quester. Yeah,
That's
because
so
But his
cool.
his
Okay.
brother introduced me to the Questor magazine. He would bring it with him, and I thought that was where you got your name. Sorry.
Yeah,
no,
me
not at
too.
all.
Now we
No,
know.
Now we know.
no. Yes, it's
Yeah.
just me liking, like I have quests, and I think quest is also something how I view kind of like a life philosophy. Like, oh, you have quests
Yeah.
that you have to do in your life, so it's like, oh, okay, questor.
Right.
I did there. I switched names. For a while, I was Foghorn because I was part of
Uh-huh.
a club, and when I did everything and not everything that has nothing to do with gaming, you
Okay.
know. And then now I'm back in gaming, so it's like I'm back to quest. But
Questor.
that's
Alright.
digression.
Yeah. Kill 10 rats and turn over the rat tails. Right.
Yes.
It's always the rats for the first quests.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So sorry.
dance mania, drum mania.
Dromania, Guitar Freaks,
Initial
um,
D.
Initial D. Oh my God,
Oh
the
wow.
competition in Initial D. Sorry, I segued to Questor because Questor magazine was one of the first anime and gaming magazines here in the Philippines that
Yes.
I've known of. And the first forum that I was involved in and became a moderator of, I'm proud of that, would be We Are Anime.
Oh, okay.
So after that, there's some friction, blah blah blah, and people from We Are Anime and Questor magazine started the new magazine Otakuzine, and they are the ones in charge of Ozine Fests that are, I think, still running to date. I'm
Yeah.
not so sure. And I used to be part of their editorial team. And then we'll make like gaming reviews and then anime reviews. And then you'd really have to buy those 50 peso CDs and VCDs and pirated games just so you can make a review. And oh my god, now I remember they didn't even pay me for those fuckers. Anyway, so yeah, Initial D was a super big game because for us lower and middle class people, we'd have to save up a certain amount just so we can like try playing Initial D in Glorieta and then head over to Power Station for the tournaments because that's a thing. Like you have leagues. So I was part of this group called Chocolate Panzers
Mm-hmm.
where we're all using ARGs. And I was also part of this spoof group called LBM
Oh, okay.
or Liga ng mga babaeng magagaling.
Wow.
And yeah, Ashley Goseng Fiao was part of that group
Uh,
too. At that point, it's just the start of Gamers Ibatsu too, and it got crazy because that
yeah.
was also the time of the start of Friendster and Multiply and MySpace, and everything is just melding together, gaming forums, anime, social media.
Drama,
It's the
drama.
start of something new. Drama,
Yeah.
shit post here and there. We were doing shit posts before shit posts were cool.
Wow.
Anyway, so yeah, that's my 2000s gaming nostalgia. I actually cosplayed Sakura from Street Fighter because I was trying to learn that game too. But I'm so horrible at those arcade games. I gave up. I just cosplayed. Boom.
Yeah. They were massive as well, fighting games.
Yeah.
And
So
Ragnarok became a huge thing here as well.
I know. Ragnarok, you'd have 100 pesos just so you'll have how many
The
hours? Do you remember?
uh it's 1 week unlimited, I think.
Oh, but
Because the
there
50 pesos was 8 hours.
was it.
Hi Laika, no walang Japanese dito, yung Japanese naming member nakatulog na. So,
Oh,
but
hi.
we're Japanese at heart.
私はproxy Japanese des.
Watashi wa tamago according to Jessica Soho.
Oh my god, that is so
That
cringe.
was so cringy, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Ragnarok was a game changer. Trivia: before Ragnarok was in the Philippines, they had a flop game called
Ozworld.
OZ World,
Ozworld.
Ozworld. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool because it's like playing Sims with other people, but the DSL wasn't very good. There's a lot of connectivity issues, and the CD that they gave me sucked.
Mhm.
So yeah, but yeah, Ragnarok was a game changer, especially those free servers.
Yeah, it did.
Were
It kind of united a lot of Filipinos and also caused a lot of drama because sorry, it's a trend with Filipino community that there's gonna be toxic stuff going on. But yeah, with the cosplay conventions, I think it's one of the things that really pushed anime and gaming into more mainstream for all of us.
yeah,
So
I agree. I think not just because I think it's the crap around. And it's like a lot of people don't want to see other people succeed. They would rather see points of failure than throw their support into the community, which is not exactly exclusive to Filipinos. It's a very Southeast Asian and Indian type of thing,
mhm.
which is I think to a degree everybody in the world would have it. It's just that culturally.
Colonial mentality.
Yeah, and there's also this colonial mentality that you just support everybody who doesn't look Filipino. So,
Oh,
yeah.
I
I
was
think that's still
corrected.
happening.
50 pesos is just 3 hours. I think it's 100
Ah,
pesos for 8 hours of Ragnarok.
dang.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark, for the correction. Ragnarok was
Thank you.
apparently beaten by Dota. Maybe, maybe not. I think Ragnarok just died because of the developments.
Mark has very good memory. Kudos to you. Are you taking
Yeah.
any supplements?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
yeah, we are
Yeah.
quoting similar games. We're like-minded people here.
Yeah. Oh, aside from Ragnarok, Ragnarok was one of my inspirations why I actually applied in their company, Level Up,
Hmm.
and I stayed there for 2 years.
Wow, you're 2 years in level up, huh?
Uh, yeah, our person and a community manager sort of type of
Uh-huh.
thing, but not for Ragnarok. It's for
Level up.
Rohan
Hmm.
online, one of their games. Yeah, I think Ragnarok just died because suddenly there's a lot of games that one can play. Around the time, for example, Ragnarok was running, Level Up was also running RF online, and there is this gaming company called E Games, and they also have this fun game that
Gunbound.
Guns. Do you remember Guns?
Guns. Yeah.
Yeah, is it E Games? I
Yeah,
forgot. You can
the
correct me.
FPS anime slasher Matrix.
Schoolgirl, yeah. Like it kind of delivers on your fantasy of being an. It's like what's that movie of
Bat
schoolgirls and schoolboys killing
Battle
each
Royale?
other? Yeah, that
Yeah.
one. It gave that kind
Battle
of
Royale was a
experience.
year 2000 movie. So yeah, definitely around that time. It
Yeah, yeah,
inspired a lot, even the Battle Royale genre that we're gonna talk about later on, way later on because it's a new thing.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
was
It
inspired by that movie.
it's kind of cute how old things inspire new things and they take a new form, and it's amazing how
Yeah.
gaming has evolved throughout. And in this end of an era, like we have a lot of things to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely a lot of things to look forward to. A lot of very dubious companies that are now redeeming themselves. So yeah, like EA is redeeming itself. It's amazing. So
Hooray.
yeah, there's that. Oh, where were we? PS3 generation, like the seventh generation.
Yeah,
The,
I shall now revert you
no,
to
no, no,
the
no.
Milikas, and
There's
I'll listen.
some other questions I want to ask, which is related to your.
Oh, okay.
Have you tried the Kinect, the Wii Remote, the PlayStation Eye?
Oh, pangmayaman
Kaya
yun
nga eh,
eh.
arcades lang tayo, no?
Okay, arcades lang kami. But my first time with Kinect, I was so amazed by the technology because it kind of follows with a few seconds of lag, and it's amazing because around the time people the buzzword is already kinetic technology or wearables and stuff like that even before it became a buzzword today. But it's something that I really want to experience then. So when I finally experienced it in a gaming convention, I forgot which one because they have demo kiosks. I was amazed and at the same time underwhelmed because the options then were so limited. So I was waiting for the reduced version that's more affordable for people on a budget. How about you guys?
I couldn't afford this technology. PS3, what were my experiences on PS3? I barely have any experiences with PS3. Except Final Fantasy 13. That was it. I'm one of those who like the game because it's the only game I play. What
Don't
about
worry
you,
about
Questor?
this cost stuff, Ernie. I'll support you on that.
Oh,
I'm
I
not
could
really
support myself
earning.
now as well.
Yeah,
Also earning. I'm so happy
don't
right
worry
now.
about that stuff. Anyway, PS3. Uh, okay, so PS3 is when I finally had met my husband. We weren't married yet, but that's when I started having a lot of stability in my life. And so the games I played on the PS3 uh, were actually, I went back to the arcade Street Fighter games. That's when was Street Fighter 4 was big. Street
Uh-huh.
Fighter 4, and I actually bought a joystick pad, uh, like a big one. They cost like about $100 or something like that. I mean, you know, in the U.S. And so I played a lot of Street Fighter 4, a lot of competitive gaming, and then I also played Dragon Age.
Oh, Dragon Age.
Um, yes, Dragon Age. I played that one. So that's
BioWare.
where, huh?
BioWare.
BioWare.
Yes, yes, Dragon Age. I really like those games, and that's where I feel like there has been a social change in those games, and the social change was like you now have gay, lesbian, and transgendered like characters to
Mhm.
choose from, and your character have relationship with same sex people. So that's the social change in gaming, which was really great. Now, a lot of the games, still up to now, like fighting games, except for Mortal Kombat. But a lot of games still right now don't cater to LGBT, and I don't really care anymore. But back then, it was such a big deal because it's like, wow, you now have you can have relationships with
Yeah.
same sex couples, and that's why I got Dragon Age because it's like now I can have a boyfriend, and my boyfriend back then was Anders or was and it was really cool,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you could have those kind of like relationships now. So yeah, other than playing Street Fighter, I was playing Dragon Age, and I was like really catering to my relationships. So relationship gaming, like having a romance option was a big deal, and even up to now, I would play games that would have romance options. But it kind of fulfilled the need to see myself in video games, the need to see myself, and now I'm just more focused on gaming, but on gotcha games where I will I will actually patronize a game that would cater to me. You
Yeah.
know, if somebody said that there's a gay option in this game, I'd be like, yes, I will want to play that game. So the gay bucks started to make um, the LGBT money, the pink dollars.
Pink
Yes,
dollars. I like that one.
yes, the pink dollars started to like, oh, now we have clout. Now we matter in this in PS3 era. So yes, that's my comment about the PS3 era.
Have you played Mass Effect as well? From the developers of
No, no, no. I would like play those games, but I was more into fantasy games, not
Oh, right, right,
sci-fi.
got it.
Yes, and I still was in school, so my budget was limited. So I did not buy a lot of games. So my library was really
Yeah,
small.
but Dragon Age was really, really, really amazing. That's why
Yes,
I'm
Dragon
still
Age.
rooting for BioWare despite their they've been having a weird thing right now. BioWare has always been the master storytellers with these branching. I've played a lot of BioWare games. But because I'm looking forward to Dragon Age 4.
I would love to buy Dragon Age 4. If it came out. Um,
I would love to buy
what?
it.
So I would argue that BioWare of today is not the same BioWare from back then. Like the original creators of those games we love are now gone from the company.
Oh,
Oh.
Like a lot of them have either moved on, quit the company, or have been laid off.
yeah, I think Anthem really broke their.
So the reason why I root for BioWare is EA owns those franchises we love, and of course, if BioWare goes, there's a chance that all
Uh,
those franchises will die.
yeah, EA has killed a lot of franchises. Red Alert, Command and Conquer. So yeah, you're right.
Anyways, thanks for that, Mia Sandri. That was a
Oh
breath of
yeah,
fresh air.
definitely.
Thank you. Sorry, I still have to cook
Oh
breakfast.
yeah, right.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you, Nyasandre.
Mhm.
Please join us again next time. Yeah, maybe let's move towards the generation, the eighth generation. I think the most inclusive generation of all because it not only represents PS4, Xbox One, Wii U. We're also having mobile games now. Angry Birds, Mobile Legends.
Oh, did I miss the Wii era?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Do you have something
Oh
else to
yeah.
add
Oh
with the
yeah,
Wii
sorry
era?
about that. I was absent. But yeah, we can move on.
Yeah. So this is the era of a lot of mobile games. A lot of oh, and the Chinese ban on video games. I never knew this, but the Chinese ban on there was a ban on video games from the Chinese since year 2000. That's why we don't really hear a lot from them. It was removed on 2014. So now the Chinese are here. They're creating a lot of video games. They're ruining a lot of economies for MMOs. But so the
Like
Chinese are a
MMOs, I
huge.
believe, can't have skeletons because that's banned in China. So
Oh, that one as well. So a lot of revisions. Final Fantasy 15
it's just like
monsters.
movies. Like Hollywood is adapting movies to cater to Chinese
But yeah,
audiences.
every time a game is released, there is a Chinese consideration. Not just because of the censorships, but because they have to have a separate economy. They have to have a separate server because they will just it's not racism, okay? It's the economic side of things that they have a lot of they
Yeah, it's a lot of
they could
money.
create companies for farming in video games, and if the Diablo, they had to separate the Chinese from the marketplace. Guild Wars 2, they had to separate the Chinese because the items would just flood in the marketplace and the gold was
True.
just be. So there's that
And
consideration as well.
nowadays, it's like half the video game industry is owned by Tencent, a Chinese
Oh
company.
yeah, definitely. Even League of Legends, PUBG, these are the biggest games there are, and Chinese companies own them. So yeah, it's massive. It's also more inclusive. Among the biggest video game trends are have the Chinese influence, like the Clash of Clans when it was averaging. There was a time when Clash of Clans would have an income of $6 million every day because of that game. I wouldn't want. I wouldn't know what to do with $6 million a day income for a company, but for just one game. But it was that big.
Yeah,
So
Well,
you
yeah,
invested in other game projects so you can get even more
more
money
money.
and
Yeah,
take over the entire
yeah,
world.
definitely.
so when it comes to this generation, actually, I'm switching from console to because the game that got me hooked on the PS4 was actually a gotcha. I wasn't playing games anymore for their graphics or for how the quality of the technology side of it. Now it's more about guilds, more about um, grinding, collecting characters, and you know this is I believe it's the most immersive experience I have in gaming, and I've turned into this person who used to play a lot of games, and now I play like with this game I'm playing like right now, Langrisser. It's owned by a Chinese company, and you know all my funds go to that game. That's it. That's all where all my funds go to. But now I get to. I want to say this. I really like now. Now some people will be like, "Oh wow, the gotcha games they we call that they encourage spending so much. In fact, some people can go broke or like they have gambling problems and all this stuff." The reason I like the gotcha economy is this. You know, the sad thing about the world economy is that you only few people who have a lot of money, and you have the rest of the people have little money. You know, and it the gacha economy represents more of the real world. Because if you think about traditional ones, it's like, oh, you buy a AAA game for $60. You know, a lot of people can't afford to put up $60. But in the gacha economy now, it's like all you have to do is have a mobile phone, and you can play. You can play, and that's a great thing. Is that the people like me right now, where I am in in my position, I can I pay the good amount of money every month now for these gacha games. I'm actually supporting people who don't want to pay or who can't afford to pay. You know, because all the money comes from really just a few percentage of people. And from what I've read, it's like only 2% of people who are whales, who are probably in Languager, I probably am part of that 2% who actually pay good amount of money every month so that like everybody else can play. And I don't resent that. It's because like when I was a kid, all the out of pocket expenses that I had to pay for gaming, you know it was, I only play for an hour, I play for 2 hours. 2 hours was already a lot of time, and that was really I was really happy. Now, all you have to do is have a mobile phone,
Yeah.
and you can play any game, which is great. And the only support system you have is really the people like me who are really invested in the game and pay for it. And that's why I like this economy more than traditional business models. So
The
that's all I want to say about that.
Thank you so much for the education. That I don't play gacha games, but that has really enlightened me about the economy. The only economy I know is microtransactions, the DLCs, service as a subscription. Like the Division right now and
I think
stuff.
for me, um, the appeal of gotcha games goes back to Pokemon, basically. The aspect of trading card games like Magic the Gathering, where you spend money and you don't know what you're gonna get, but it can be something super amazing that's worth a lot, right? Or has a big impact in your gameplay experience, or you might just get trash, right? And
Yeah, the loot boxes right now. It's the thing.
and that's what gets people. It goes into that gambling tendency of throwing away money to try to get good odds at something, right? But there is a part of me that likes that. It's not my favorite gaming genre though, but I understand the appeal.
Yeah.
It really is for people who have more money to spend. See, for me, I figured out, like in the Languager game, if I spend this much money, I'm pretty much, and if I become patient and just work with the system, I don't have to become a whale. I can pretty much get all the items I need. But what you really just need is not like money, it's patience. Just patience. Spend right now. Don't don't it's like it's really with the gotcha games, you're really checking yourself with impulse
Hmm.
control. You know, like wanting things right away. And that's what you need to learn when is that you just need to learn how to we call that defer gratification, not defer but like
Did they
what's
delay?
the delayed gratification. Yes, delay your gratification and you'll do fine. You'll
One
do
of my
fine.
one of the challenges I impose on myself when I play a brand new gotcha game is how far can I get without spending any money. But if I really love the game, I am a person who spends money. Like I said, I can be a dolphin. But and surprisingly, in some games that are more fair, you can get some really good rolls, like with just playing for free, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm a proponent of people who just play for free. And this is why what I like about people who just play for free, not the toxic stuff where they tell that they're better than whales. That
Yeah,
kind
there's
of
a
talk
lot.
I I
Yeah.
really get tired of that. I really get tired of that. But what I like about people who just play for free is that they use the most analytical parts of their brain, because you have to win and win and complete quests and stuff like that with the most basic character, with the most basic units or most basic weapons. So it's just a lot of grinding, and they're the kind of people who come up with guides. And if
True.
you contribute, like, you don't contribute financially, but you contribute in the ways you post videos about your gameplay, you make guides, you promote the game and stuff. To me, that's really like valuable. Someone like me, when I was in school, I don't have time to look at grind. I really people who make guides and stuff like that. So I totally support people who play the game for free. And that's why I said, it's like, I will pay money, and I don't mind people playing for free, because I know they provide different kind of service in kind, not in money, but they support the game in kind. That kind of
True.
thing. And what I like about my measure of quality for a gacha game is that you can complete most things or all of the content with just using free to play units. You know, it might be more difficult. The challenge might be really crazy, but if you can complete with free to play units, that to me is a measure of how good your gacha game is. But if it's only like, oh, you can only finish it a character that you have to pay for, I don't support those kind of gacha games, because then that's just complete pay to win, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, totally against pay to
formats.
win.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that there has been an era of a lot of pay to win. Like on the early MMOs, those were really pay to win era. But it's really good that everyone's catching up. Even the developers are there. They're really seeing the benefits of not going pay to win route, but actually a different business model. But the loot boxes, the gambling aspect, we have to tone it down. I know that you love gacha games, and you know what kind of games you support, and that's the correct kinds of games to support, because a lot other games are more predatory than that.
Yeah, true, true.
Even the most famous publishers like EA or Ubisoft.
I don't get it because usually with gacha games they're free and you spend how much money you want to, but nowadays, well, especially this year and last year, you buy a $60 game and yet in order to progress at a reasonable rate to catch up with others, you got to spend money on top of that. So
Yeah, and that's really
I'm
disgusting.
totally against that stuff. If they made you pay in the beginning, you should be able to complete all the in-game content without having to pay more.
Yeah,
true, true.
true.
I'm totally against that. I can understand in the free to play scenario if they put that, although I'll still be against it. I'd forgive it more, but in a traditional, like, you already spent the money for the game,
Yeah,
that they would put more like, oh, yeah, if you spend more, then that's the only way you could finish. It's not even DLC. No, no, no. And I'd be like, that'll be, because now I review games, and if I come across a game like that, that's be like, game. Don't play this game. That would be what I would say.
I think with some releases of AAA titles that have failed miserably this year, developers might start rethinking their strategies next year.
the thing
Hopefully.
is, a lot of these executives, they just leave after giving themselves a huge paycheck. Um,
Yeah,
so that's really
I
disgusting.
think there was an example of like, I think it was Activision, where
Blizzard. Yeah, yeah.
where they hired a new CEO, and they laid off, what was it, 800 employees, and they gave the new CEO who hasn't done anything yet, like,
Huge bonus.
don't quote me on this, but like $1 million paycheck raise or bonus before he even contributed anything.
So yeah, that's really sketchy. Um, So yeah, and
Like they're
mobile.
not they're not just exploiting consumers. These game companies are exploiting the designers, programmers, the people who put their heart and soul in these games.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that happened with Call of Duty. It's an American Call of Duty Blackout, was it? Where
Yeah.
they really created the game really good. It got really good reviews from reviewers, and the developers would read this and they would tear up and thank you so much for the great reviews. We really put our heart and soul in it. And then after the review period, they just gave it a few months. And then now all these really dodgy monetization options, where the infamous they were charging $1 for a red dot for your crosshair, and that really so so yeah, there's that. So yeah,
and then
and
you have and then you have like with the Nintendo Switch, they released Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC, and everyone was freaking out. But for like less than $10, you got something much more than you would get from like a Western company
wow,
in content. Like
yeah,
Japan's starting to like dabble into microtransactions, but they're for the most part they've been more fair.
uh-huh,
See,
uh,
I really don't mind microtransactions because I mean, but in a free to play setting, if they got me hooked on the game, then I will pay money because I enjoy it. You know, the problem back then was that you end up paying $60 and you don't know if you're gonna get crap. With gacha games, with free to play games, you know what you're getting because you spent hours on it. And that's why my budget was getting bigger and bigger for these games. I would like, pay more and pay more. It's because I really enjoy the game, and that's why I don't mind paying more and stuff. Whereas before, it's like, oh, I want to get the new this new game, and then it turns out the new version of the game was crap. Like if I paid money for a Final Fantasy, and then you realize like, oh, it's not like Final Fantasy X, and then you're screwed because you already paid $60 for it. So
And that's why you
we're
don't pre-order games, right?
well,
uh,
well, I'm like I said, I'm okay. The pre-order is just for like when you already have reputation that you already built your reputation. I don't mind a pre-order. It's just
Mhm.
that uh, I don't mind microtransactions as long as like I already like the game. But I will stop playing a game. I will stop playing a game immediately if it becomes unfair because you know there's so many games to choose from. There's so many gotcha games out there, and that's actually what I'm doing is reviewing all the gotcha games out there. And it's like once, let's say even Langrisser. If Langrisser did something that it forced me to pay money, you know, it didn't earn it. It forced me. I'd drop it like a fly, you know, like a hot potato. I'd just be like, nope, not paying anything. Because that's what happened with Gems of War. I've been playing of War for 2 years, but they did something. They did something wrong with me as a consumer, and after that, I stopped giving them money.
yeah,
But
Mhm.
yeah, I spend a considerable amount of money in these gotcha games. Um, that I feel that like you have to earn it for me to play it, and it's more like when I say earn it, it's mainly made the gameplay fun. And stuff like that. But the whole thing like, oh, you can get a red dot in your sniper thing if you pay $1. Oh, you can get this. Like I'm not even hooked yet. Well, and then you're charging me the stuff. I could just easily drop that game.
yeah.
So
Just out of curiosity, and sorry if this kind of deviates from the topic, but what are your top three favorite gotcha games at the moment?
my top three. My top one actually, and I don't have a top three right now. I only have one favorite gotcha game, and that would be Langrisser Mobile.
Ah, okay.
I also can remember Questor playing Langrisser on the Sega before. It's an old game. But
Hmm.
they revamped it. But it's one of the first few games I could also remember him playing.
And I would also recommend Fire Emblem Heroes. So I recommend that. But
Oh, I did play that, and I ended up getting really, really good heroes like pretty early on. So I didn't spend a dime on it. So
Oh.
good. And that's the thing. You know, these kind of games, anybody should be able to play them and not spend a dime. People who loves the games and can support them, like me, I will spend money, as long as and stuff.
yeah,
Is
me and Rules friend Zephylar. I wish he could be in this because that's right up his avenue as well. Gotcha games.
yeah.
Like he will be playing a PC game with me, Warframe, but on his third hand, he'd be playing a gotcha game on the side. So
Yeah. Is Square Enix's Brave Exvius? Is it also a gacha game? Oh, okay.
yes, it is. It is, and
There's a lot of
I
company.
haven't played it. I haven't played it in like a year and a half, but the last time it was still my favorite at the time.
Is there a Konami gacha game? Because Konami made a lot of very dubious decisions, so that they could focus on mobile, I think, and gacha. But
Yeah, they love gambling.
yeah, have you heard anything on your radars when it comes to Konami?
No, but I'm following this guy Iga, and
Oh
he's
yeah, Bloodstained.
Bloodstain.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, I'm following
that's the
Igas.
one. I wish I could follow Konami, but they haven't released anything that you
They
know.
released employees. That's what they did.
Their biggest release,
Yeah, Hideo Kojima might
releasing
release
employees.
employees. Yeah. Oh,
Then
the comment section says he plays Konami Yu-Gi-Oh games.
Oh,
uh,
I play one.
Yeah, and it's still up.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel
Yeah, it's still up, right?
something. Wait,
Like, it's still active. I'm not sure. So yeah, right.
I,
Konami,
I
Yu-Gi-Oh.
actually it's on mobile, but I played on Steam. I think it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links,
Hmm.
and that is a game that I haven't spent the time compete with others and win.
Oh wow.
It was pretty well done. I really enjoyed it.
Right.
yeah, I think to me, if you spend money, it's because you just want to save on grinding. I feel that like I did a commentary video on this one on my channel, and why I really think the business model for gacha games and stuff like that, I think the biggest currency is not money but time. You know,
Oh,
if you're, and I wouldn't set a paywall, I would say set a time wall. That the most premium item available is the person who dedicated the most time playing this game. So that's how I view it. And
yeah.
so, like, if you are a free to play gamer and you spend so much of your time in that game that you weren't playing other things and you were not even eating or something, you know, you should get the best item out there.
Oh yeah.
That's how I feel. Because for me, when I pay money, it's more like I don't want to spend the time. I want to get these characters now.
Mhm.
I don't want, I kind of want to skip all these like things that you have to do. And that's why I think, because here's the thing that I'm not keen on. I don't want gotcha games creating class of consumers. I like,
True.
you don't want to emphasize that, like, oh, you have items only for whales, and then now you have a separate class of consumers, and then now there's going to create like some kind of resentment because
It's bad for the community.
yeah, now you have a separate community. I just want everybody to be a single community. And yes, there are whales. There will always be people who have a lot of money, but the most premium item for everyone, everyone, and the only thing that you have to dedicate is your time.
True. And as for free users contributing, like they might not be contributing financially and don't provide guides that might get new customers just by playing the game. Like in the game, like for example, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, like just the fact that you're competing with other players, you're providing value to the other players as well.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, yeah,
if they have to wait and there's no on the other side to play with, eh,
Yeah, that
it's
was
not much
true.
of a game.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's also I agree with that. Is you have playmates when you have free to play. I want to have a game where there's always a player play with. Now, if that player is a troll, they can go away. And I really hate free to play trolls, but just you always have a player to play with. That's totally fine.
I learned some. That's
Uh,
something that's a really good learning point for me. I never considered that, but yeah, that's because I play Tekken. It doesn't have this monetization option, and it's really hard looking for players sometimes. But on other games with free to play with a similar monetization option like Hearthstone, I it only takes like 2 seconds. You have another player to play with.
Hmm.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, that's
that
the great thing about now with free to play games. And all. That's why I support it, despite the things that the scary stuff about it, like you could lose all your money and all that stuff. You could lose all your money if you just have poor impulse control, and it doesn't
yeah.
have to be with games.
Be,
You know.
before we wrap up the podcast, before we like I want us to make like some general overviews with this current era, with this current Heisei era, this generation that we're saying goodbye to. Because microtransactions are definitely among the biggest contributions of this era. I would also like to bring up this streaming platform and how it's available for others as well, especially for the ladies. Because so there was a gaming slouch before this era, right, where gaming industry is not really that big, and they had to market video gaming as a cool thing to do, a masculine, cool thing, cool kids do. They have to market it like that. So there's this SNES and there's this Power Glove and there's this various other accessories.
Everything was power and super.
Yeah. When before gaming was a lot of females were game developers even. You don't have to be that manly to play Pac-Man or Pong. Right now, like it's the I'm cool and you're not, and if I like it right now that ladies are streaming, but there are still some elitist gatekeepers where are you really a gamer? But you're spending money. Are you a real gamer? But you don't know what you're doing. Are you a real gamer? So
That's
there's
still a
this.
thing.
That's still a thing. I want that gone, right? Because
Wow.
this era introduced that, and I we're on the brink of somehow. I wish that's my wish for the next era that it's 100%
Oh, like
inclusive.
the elitist gaming mindset.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna go away.
I think certain people just have that mindset, and nothing's ever going to change that.
uh,
And it'll go away when they die of old age. It's just
Well,
part of being human and
uh,
growing up with other
I,
humans,
I, I
right?
don't think I don't think that's gonna die with old age either, because I run into the young people, and even if I spend money, they will criticize what I spend it on. I'm like, it's my money to spend. I
exactly.
and the reason they criticize is because, oh, you spent that money. Why is your power level low? I'm like, I'm not spending it for the power level.
Mhm.
It's like this is how I play. This is how I pay.
You don't
You
even
know.
have to justify yourself. Like
No, I
you don't
don't.
even
Yeah.
And
have
that's the
to.
and that's the point. That's the point. It's like it's so annoying in the sense it's like I don't have to justify myself with you. In fact, it almost gets me to say something curt that would say like, you know, you just wish you had money to spend and stuff like that. And that's rude. But um, but it's just like, don't let anyone tell you what to do with your. If you play for free, totally cool. If you spend money, totally cool. If you spend like $200 on a skin, and there's people who would criticize you for that, it's like, who cares? You know, who
But
cares if it made you happy?
your example is it's something you do, right? It's not
Yeah,
who you are. Like
yeah.
for example, with every human generation, in the last like 100 years, LGBTQ acceptance goes up, gender equality acceptance goes up, racism gets lessened. It's not completely eradicated, but it, as we move forward, it lessens and lessens. But
Okay.
actions that you do, it's like a separate thing. Like people will always criticize other people who do actions different from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as gamers, the only qualifier that makes you a gamer is you play a game.
Yeah.
That makes you. That's it. You know,
And
why does it
even
have to be
even
that?
playing video games like 10 years ago, it was seen as like, oh, what are you, some kind of loser, right?
Yeah,
It there are, but it's with each generation it gets more acceptable. Just like when TVs were new, it was like, oh, you watch TV, you must be a lazy oaf. And then the baby boomer generation, everyone watches TV and no one judges them for it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, I grew up with that stigma. I grew up with the stigma that like you play video games and you must be lazy. And for a long time, I've been doing all other things. As like video gaming was sort of like a hobby, and it never became a career. Now it's a career for me because it's like, I don't want to be a doctor. I get my A's, yes, I get straight A's in school, but I'm no longer interested in these things, and I don't want to become a doctor. I want to be a video gamer. I want, and stuff like that, and I don't get that kind of like negativity from people anymore. And if I hear that, I'll just tell them to shut it,
Uh-huh.
you know, because now you have people who win video games and they win how much? $10 million. You know,
Yeah, it's a thing.
it's like it's a
Yeah.
thing now that you can win $1 million just being a pro player, and I really really like that. That it's a big deal, and when somebody says, "Oh, esports, that's not really sports," I'm like, "Shut your pie."
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
massive.
it's massive. It's like, can you compete with your muscles? Because this is not a brawn game, you
Yeah.
know. So you
Definitely,
can
yeah.
flex all your muscles, but this is the kind of sport where your eye hand coordination really matters, and your mental aptitude really matters. And it's funny because they call chess a sport, but they can't call gaming a sport. It doesn't make sense, you know, because all of this comes from chess anyway. Langrisser is a chess game, so.
Yeah.
Nia Sandre wants to put some thoughts in,
Yes, all right.
if that's okay.
Of course.
Hi. Yeah, it's a really interesting conversation because we are talking about how people and hobbies and jobs evolve through the time. The Milikas mentioned a while ago
It's okay.
about how people who were watching TVs are like lazy oafs, but people who were browsing newspapers before were thought to be scoundrels and people who couldn't contribute to society. Right now, when you say that you are actually gaming, the first thing that people would ask would be, "Oh, are you streaming? Or how many audiences do you have? Or are you also a gaming influencer?" So as times evolve, eventually all of the occupancies would also evolve. One of the articles in LinkedIn that I read about gaming was, in the future, once virtual reality is a thing, there would be specialized people who would be creating simulations to cater to every need. There would be virtual coaches who would like tell you how to do a deadlift or something like that. and then suddenly whatever console you're holding would be super heavy to the point that you can't lift it, and then your coach would be like, you can do it, you can do it. There will be virtual cheerers. It's going to be an exciting
Oh, definitely.
time in the next 20 years, and we just keep on evolving. And I really like your discussion about how being a gamer before is associated with being um what they call this, a
A loser.
loser. Or in
With no
South
social life.
Park, there are episodes about gamers who are just big people who just drink beer and who are just keyboard warriors and stuff like that. It's so nice that gamers are now associated also with beautiful looking people like you guys.
Thank
And
you so much.
it's not just losers who
So
are
So
like,
charming.
charming.
yeah, so charming. Yeah, so yeah,
And it
yay to
doesn't have
us.
to be, and it doesn't have to be age restricted
Yeah.
either. I mean, now I'm in my 40s. Like I just turned 40 last year, and now I just feel like I'm more of a gamer than I've ever been. You know, and if anybody asks me what do you do, I play video games. That's my career. You know,
Yeah.
I review video games. I post my video games on YouTube. I haven't gotten big yet, or I'm not making income right now because I just started. But eventually, it'll happen. I mean,
Yeah.
and I idolize the younger people like Ninja and PewDiePie and all that stuff. I idolize them because they're the ones who made it big doing what they love doing. And I wish I had done that when I was younger. I wish I just focused on my gaming and did not if I spent all my time in gaming and how much money I made and stuff.
Yeah.
So, now I'm kind of late into the game because everybody is streaming now and I'm just starting, in the gaming atmosphere.
Uh,
But then again, yeah, it's interesting how older people also just started their gaming life in the past 5 years. Like there is the CS:GO team of 60
Old
year old
timers.
old
Yeah.
timers that was
60
really
plus,
fun to
70s.
watch. Like they were
wow.
playing CS:GO, and you literally see their
And
Ryuma
I believe her
striking
name is
in.
Shirley Curry. Have you heard of her? She does Skyrim Let's Plays like for the past number of years, and she's like 80 plus,
Wow.
See,
and she streams.
I'd totally be down to that kind of stuff, and now I can afford that lifestyle. I would do it.
Yeah.
I'm totally into it and
Um.
stuff. And
Oh, sorry
go
for
ahead.
interrupting. The comment section would like to tune in as well. That esport is a sport. It's why Monster Energy Drink sponsored them. So the energy drinks, the products that are associated with sports like Red Bull and Monster, and right now G Fuel, there's that as well. They're really pushing for esports more as well. So yeah.
Well, caffeine keeps the mind alert.
I think it's gonna be bigger and bigger and bigger. The esports community, the gaming community is just gonna be bigger with mobile games. Especially mobile games. Like everybody now is a gamer.
Hmm.
And there shouldn't be any stigma
Yeah,
associated
definitely.
with it. It's great. It's great. I would see gaming, in the next era to be, um, that you can. There was a show about this girl. She won. She won $100,000. I did a research on her, and she was part of a reality TV series where they were competing against each other as gamers, and they would fight each other. And she belonged to a gaming family. Like the whole family plays video games.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I
That's
was
pretty
like,
cool.
wow, I would see more of that. If I start my own family of kids and stuff, I would proudly introduce them to video games.
Oh, before you
And if
continue,
they told college, I want to be a pro gamer, I'd be like,
yeah,
go for it. You know,
yeah. Oh, the comment section would like to encourage you, Questor, that you're not late. It says here, You're not late. You're not late yet, sir. There's a PUBG player I used to play with. He was 70 years old in UK, so there's that as well.
Thank
It's not too
you.
late. Yeah, it's
No,
not too
it's not
late,
too
requester. It's not too late
late.
for every one of us. Imagine Candy Crush being sponsored by Red Bull, says the comment section.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
maybe it's gonna be, oh, Candy Crush has soda, and energy drinks have are like in soda cans, so that might work. Yeah, sorry for cutting you off, but it was a very important encouragement from the comment section.
thank you,
Yeah.
comment section.
Yeah,
Thank you, comment
thank you,
section.
Mark. His name's Mark. Hi, Mark. You know that scene.
Oh,
Oh,
hi,
hi there,
Mark.
Mark.
Oh, also, here's the thing. Here's I want to say, which is becoming better. Video game adaptations are becoming way better in quality. So it's no
Uh-huh.
longer a joke. That's like, oh, it's that movie or anime. Is that from a video game? Yeah, and it's like, oh, I want to watch it.
Uh-huh.
Before the qualities for these kind of like movies, it's like if it's based off a video game, it's like it's poorly rated, and now it's getting better. And
Mortal
and
Kombat 1995 was my guilty pleasure
No, that was the best video game adaptation. I can't imagine
for some
anything
time.
else
For
that
some time.
could top it. I
Next
don't know.
month, guys. Next month, Detective Pikachu drops,
Oh,
and a lot of people, even people who don't like Pokemon, are excited to see it.
oh wow. I loved World of Warcraft adaptation, but not a lot of people do. But I liked it.
I thought it was okay.
yeah,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, we'll see more of those. I mean, I think the best adaptation so far for me was Castlevania on
Oh,
Netflix.
Netflix.
Oh,
Oh, that's
yeah. If you
yeah,
include
yeah,
that,
yeah.
that is
I
the
never.
best in
Sorry,
my
sorry. Yeah,
opinion
yeah, yeah. Hands down,
so
yeah.
far.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree.
I just wasn't thinking about it because it's a show. So
Yeah, Netflix show. Well, there's
true,
the
true.
Witcher who's it's also coming up, so maybe that's
Well,
also
hopefully that's
exciting
Oh,
good.
as well.
hopefully that would be great. So
Yeah. Oh, the comment section. Sonia Sanders on the comment section. Guild Wars 2 with 70-year-old grannies. I used to play when I was OJTing in a gaming company. We used to play Battlestar Galactica. I didn't know what Battlestar
wow,
Galactica is. I didn't know that. They
wow,
introduced me. And
Wait, what about Guild Wars 2?
oh, so Nyasandra was
Is it
playing with
name?
70-year-old grandmothers.
Oh, right.
I
In Guild
was
Wars 1, my
yeah.
second guild, the guild leader was a 70-year-old, and in Guild Wars 2, I ran a guild of 300 people, and two of the most prominent members were 70 to 80-year-old women from Australia.
Me, I was playing Battlestar Galactica with someone who has like terrible anxiety. So he has medical marijuana to calm him down. And there's also this other guy who died. So all the
that
factions, so there's this Cylon and the humans. We all met together on one map, and we just fired our missiles as our gun salute. And no war, no fighting whatsoever. People from both sides respected that person, and it was a very surreal experience for me in 2012, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Moments like
because
that in online games
yeah,
are just magical.
prior to that, I'm exposed to the Filipino Dota scene where everything's toxic. Or Ragnarok scene, everything's toxic because it's fun when you play offline and you get to trash talk with people, and that
Mm.
kind of carried over. So most of the Filipino chat, most is toxic because also of the genre. MOBA is a toxic genre. It doesn't matter where you're playing. But MMOs like that, yeah, where people can be kind, like really kind. I got culture shock playing with them. So yeah, who Twitch is questioning who is going to win the Champions League. I'm not sure what game though you're referring to. What's Champions League? Maybe Hearthstone? Maybe League of Legends? Sorry, I'm not in the loop. Could you guys answer that? Who is going to win the Champions League? I'm sorry, sir, I'm not familiar. I'm gonna Google that real quick. So, what else are your observations? Maybe we could combine this time now. What are your observations in this era? And what are your hopes, wishes, and predictions for the next 30 years? So yeah, it's a free for all now.
Um, for me, like I know it got a bad rap for now and didn't gain much popularity, but I'm really excited for the future of VR games
Oh yeah, me too as well.
because I come from I love simulation games, and most people focus on VR only games, but there was one game I really played that was built for VR from the ground up, but nobody ever talks about it in the context of VR in popular media, and that's Elite Dangerous.
Oh yeah.
So I can fly spaceships in an MMO and look around my cockpit at
Oh, oh, you should
all the holograms and fly to throughout a recreation of our Milky Way galaxy.
you should send
Stuff like
Questor.
that.
You should send Questor a video of your Elite Dangerous entry.
Oh,
That's really
that is
fun.
embarrassing,
Oh,
but sure.
oh, the comment section is
For
asking
me,
when Bloodstained release is. Do you have any news when the Bloodstained release? I just saw an update from them like earlier.
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I don't know. I mean, they better release it soon because the longer they wait, might suffer from Duke Nukem kind of,
Waiting
you
Duke
know,
Nukem forever.
forever. Okay.
when it comes out, it's like it's too delayed, and then when it comes out, it kind of like fizzles. It doesn't really like
Uh,
boom or anything like that, because that could be a situation. Just put it out.
so
Like,
for us waiting for Bloodstained, let's play Dead Cells instead. It's faster paced ninja. What were you
so
trying to say? Sorry, Questor, before I cut you off.
what I think is the future of gaming. If I were a had if I had $1 billion, and I could be an investor, I would invest in better Wi-Fi in airplanes, so that people are not watching movies but playing video games.
That's so awesome. I'd love that.
Yeah, yeah. See, if you can make that happen, those 17-hour flights from across the globe will just not be so hard because you're playing
Yeah,
games.
but but in
Watching movies is great and stuff like that, and you can watch movies, but the games in the airplanes, I'm like, oh my god, this is crap. But you know, once they improve the Wi-Fi capacity of
I,
those, and they need to branch out, because that's a market. That's a market that has not yet been tapped, and that's where I could feel like if I had money, I'd make so much bucks than in airline gaming.
Yeah.
before that happens, though, in the meantime, there's this device called the Nintendo Switch that a lot of people are successfully playing on airplanes. You can play Skyrim. You can
Fire Emblem.
so Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On Switch.
It's great.
yeah, but I just think that, like, like if airlines like learned how to do this, because here's the thing. Well, across the globe, I'd pay like $40 to get internet service, and I can't even play a game. You know, but for like the 17-hour flights, like $40 to be on the internet, and you can't play. You know,
Yeah,
I'd be happy. I'd be
they'd have to
happy.
invest in better infrastructure.
Yeah, infrastructure, so you can have gaming on airplanes. I'm not saying gaming on airplanes and event, and having Wi-Fi in trains, so people can watch movies and play their games and stuff like that. That would be great. That would be the next best thing to happen. I'm sure I'm not the only one who thought of this. There's just a lot of people just waiting to cash into that kind of scene, because come on, there are gonna be a lot of gamers, and these gamers want thing. And here's the other thing I want to add, like if I were to make a business, here's the other thing. So when you go to the gym,
Uh-huh.
and then you're just watching on a TV on a treadmill, I was actually playing my iPhone on the treadmill and stuff, and I lasted for 2 hours on the treadmill because I was
Yes,
just so
yes,
focused on
I agree with that.
on my you know
What?
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 Because right
Sorry.
now right now in the gyms I go to, it's like this screens in front of me, and they're all like tuned into Fox News or CNN or stuff like that. It's like I don't want to watch that. I just want to I want to play my game. And it's like if this game is, I just walk on my treadmill, and I don't have it on fast. I have it on steep. So, I don't have to move fast, but I have challenge and stuff. And I play my game. Like, come on. I could
For
stay there for 2 hours, for 3 hours, just playing my game and getting my exercise done.
Actually, on that topic, like the first thing I did when I got my Nintendo Switch last year was play Mario Kart 8 on the bicycle machine, and I could literally be on that bicycle working out my legs for 6 hours straight, like, and not notice
Wow.
because you're playing a game, your mind's
Yeah.
focused on something, and then when you finish, you can't walk anymore.
Yeah. But but
But you
but
can
but
still play at the
isn't that
game.
great? Isn't that great though? I mean, it's like why are
It
treadmills?
Yeah,
You can't stay on treadmills because they're boring. They're boring.
exactly. I've been thinking about that for years, and I still don't know why it's not a thing yet.
So yeah, we need to give Questor $1 billion, and then that will happen. Yes, we need to unite everyone.
All right. Well, anyway,
So
uh,
yeah, maybe
I,
augmented reality as well, so that we could better incorporate the exercise with.
Someone did develop a game that has a bicycle simulator, so you wear either a VR headset or three monitors are in front of you, and it's developed for older people, I think, to help with memory cognition. And you ride the bicycle and you virtually move through a cityscape, so it's simulated. So um, that's for Alzheimer's, but you can also adapt stuff like that for people who want a virtual gaming experience, right? While they work out.
yeah, working out. Only specific workouts can work out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think I might be heading out for now.
Okay. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
let's
cause
wrap up. Let's wrap this up. So that was what you want to say. And maybe yeah. Yeah, I think this is a good wrap up of this generation and our hopes and dreams for the next one. I'm gonna add well, there's Google Stadia. I don't think it's gonna succeed a lot, but basically it's games on demand.
uh-huh.
You don't download the game. Your
Yeah,
device doesn't process the game. It's basically like YouTube but for video games. So when you see a game you like, and then you press play, and then you play automatically because the what's processing those games are you're renting basically a console somewhere. So maybe that'll kick off. But what I'm really excited for is the inclusiveness. Like I could tell mom, hey mom, maybe you could try this game, or maybe you could browse through Netflix like
true,
interface, and maybe you could try this game. You try it with your friends. I mean, it's
true.
kind of working with Facebook Messenger with the very basic games like basketball and the football and stuff like that. Like the most basic of games, but it's like that. So that's it for me. More inclusiveness, more people playing
Yeah,
video games, and no stigma about it, and I'm
I don't
happy.
think it'll kick off in the next few years, but you can't rule out the future when they fully get that technology developed,
Yeah.
and it will open up gaming to people with laptops from yesterday or people who want to hook up their iPad and play Sekiro or something, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. More games for us, basically. TLDR, more video games for every kind of person, whether you're on the gym or not on the gym. Maybe you're old or not. All right, I think it has been a really fun podcast. It has been for me, and I'm looking forward to more podcasts like this. Uh, yeah. Does anyone have anything else to say?
I'm good. Thanks for
Well,
tuning in. I appreciate
yeah,
you guys listening to me.
Good luck with your Avengers. Uh, what's your
thank you.
yeah?
I appreciated the podcast too.
Yep.
Missed out on talking about the Wii era, but that's That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll just ramble on about the Nintendo Revolution and stuff.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, no, that's
Sandra
fine.
talked about her dance revolution and drum mania era, which is kind of like that as well.
Yeah, yeah,
You guys looking forward to playing Labo? Yeah, that cardboard box thingy. A lot of things we're looking forward to, but we don't have enough time for now. Uh, yep, and thank you so much for all the Japanese people out there. Thank you for the Heisei era, and long live your emperor, and long live the next emperor. And
yeah,
this is
definitely.
me, Rule, signing off. I'm joined with Demilicos and Questor. Check out Questor's
Yeah,
YouTube channel as well. Demilicos' Twitch stream, and maybe we'll have projects with him with Active Time Gaming, and maybe more projects with Chaotic Gaming as well. Lovely still streaming, but not streaming on the Chaotic Gaming, but she has her own Lovely CG, which stands for Chaotic Gaming still. And
thanks
yep,
everyone.
thanks everyone. Bye bye everyone, and
Thanks
see
for
you guys next
watching.
time.
Okay, bye.
Bye
Have a good
bye.
night.
Have a good night.
Bye.